Good day, everyone. We are Group 9, and today we'll be presenting the Philippine National Ethical Guidelines for Research Involving Human Participants. With the growing use of electronic health records, online surveys, and telehealth, nursing research now has more efficient ways to collect data and connect with patients. However, these advancements also raise concerns about privacy, confidentiality, and informed consent. In this report, we will explain how the Data Privacy Act of 2012 and related guidelines regulate electronic health record use and ensure ethical nursing research using digital tools. Understanding the regulatory framework is essential in ensuring that health data is used responsibly in research. In this context, the foundation for the regulation of electronic health records are provided under the Data Privacy Act of 2012 and the Guidelines on Privacy and Confidentiality of Information, wherein the Data Privacy Act of 2012 is the primary law in the Philippines governing personal data protection. According to the National Privacy Commission, researchers and institutions handling sensitive health information are considered personal information controllers and must ensure lawful, fair, and transparent processing of data. This framework begins with the lawful basis for processing health data, particularly the role of informed consent. As stated by the National Privacy Commission in 2019, the use of EHR data for research requires a lawful basis, such as explicit informed consent, public health purposes, or scientific research with appropriate safeguard. If consent obtained during clinical care does not cover research, researchers must either secure additional consent or ensure that the reuse is authorized by law and approved by institutional review boards. Yet, obtaining consent alone is not sufficient. Researchers must also ensure that the data collected is limited in scope and used only for clearly defined purposes. The principle of purpose limitation under Republic Act 10173 requires that data be used only for specific declared purposes. Researchers are further encouraged to collect the minimum amount of information necessary. The National Privacy Commission in 2017 emphasizes anonymization of datasets when using electronic health records to reduce risks of identification. To uphold the principles of purpose limitations under RA 10173, researchers and institutions must adopt robust safeguards that protect data from unauthorized access, misuse, or breaches. Institutions are required to implement organizational and technical safeguards such as role based access controls and secure authentication, which ensures users only can access data that are relevant to their responsibilities, which reduces risks of unauthorized disclosure. Second is encryption of data in transit and at rest. This protects health records by making them unreadable to unauthorized parties during transfer or storage. Third is logging and audit trails for electronic health record access. Every instance of access, modification, or transfer of data should be recorded in a system log. Audit trails help institutions monitor user activity, detect unusual behavior, and investigate potential misuse. Fourth is incident response and breach notification mechanisms, wherein institutions are required to act promptly and inform affected parties when data breaches occurs. Fifth is data minimization and anonymization. In line with the NEG HHR in 2022, researchers are advised to collect only what is essential for the study using pseudonymization techniques to reduce re identification risks. And lastly, we have cross border data safeguards, When digital platforms rely on cloud storage or involve international collaborations, data transfers must comply with both Philippine privacy laws and international standards to ensure participants' rights remain protected. Beyond technical protections, institutional accountability is also critical to ensure ongoing compliance with privacy regulations. Organizations handling health data must comply with National Privacy Commission requirements, which include designating a data protection officer or a DPO, and when applicable, registering their data processing systems to ensure accountability. Additionally, under the National Ethical Guidelines for Health and Health Related Research in 2022, ethical oversight extends to digital informed consent practices, wherein we have first clarity and accessibility. Consent forms for online surveys or telehealth platforms must use plain language, with options such as clickable summaries, layered information, or multimedia aids to enhance understanding. Second is verification of comprehension. Researchers should employ confirmation steps or comprehension checks to ensure consent is truly informed. Third is right to withdraw. Participants must be given a clear, accessible way to withdraw at any stage, with transparent communication about what will happen to their data upon withdrawal. Lastly, is special protection for vulnerable populations. If the study involves minors, elderly, or marginalized groups, researchers must secure proxy consent where applicable and apply extra safeguards to prevent exploitation or coercion. Having examined the regulatory framework and institutional responsibilities under the Data Privacy Act of 2012, it is also important to consider what are the specific challenges and best practices for obtaining informed consent and ensuring data security when nurses use digital tools for research. Well, the ethical guidelines for Internet research, published by the Association of Internet Researchers in 2019 and the British Psychological Society in 2021, outline specific considerations for online research involving human participants. Nurse researchers face several ethical dilemmas when conducting online studies, such as ambiguity of public versus private spaces, wherein online environments blur the distinction between public and private spaces, making it unclear whether researchers may use data without consent. For instance, participants may not expect their social media posts to be included in studies, even if they are publicly visible, creating ethical uncertainty. Second is obtaining valid informed consent. Participants may skim through online consent forms without fully understanding the risks, particularly when using lengthy or technical language. This undermines the principle of truly informed and voluntary participation. Third are third party risks, wherein data collected through online surveys or telehealth platforms is often stored on third party servers, which may involve cross border data transfers. This raises concerns about jurisdiction and whether privacy protections align with the Data Privacy Act of 2012. Fourth is re-identification risks. Even anonymized data sets can be re-identified using metadata such as IP addresses, geolocation, or browsing patterns. This risk challenges the assurance of confidentiality that researchers give participants. Lastly is the power imbalance in telehealth. Patients may feel pressured to participate in research if the invitation comes from their healthcare provider. This dynamic risks undermining voluntariness and must be carefully managed. These challenges emphasize the need for proactive ethical safeguards to ensure participant protection and data integrity in digital nursing researches. Now, to address these challenges, nurse researchers should adapt the following practices. First is to have a clear and layered consent form, wherein we provide simple summaries along with detailed information that ensures the participants can understand essential details even if they skim documents. This layered approach respects varying levels of participant engagement while still upholding transparency. Second is transparency in data processing. Researchers should disclose which platforms are used, where servers are located, and how long data will be stored. Such openness builds participant trust and ensures accountability in handling digital data. Third is meaningful voluntary participation. Researchers must assure participants that refusal or withdrawal will not affect their care or relationship with providers. Reinforcing voluntariness helps address power imbalances in telehealth settings. Fourth is enhanced security measures. Technical safeguards such as encrypted communication, multi factor authentication, and contractual agreements with digital platforms protect against unauthorized access and breaches. These measures align with both ethical guidelines and the Privacy Act. Lastly, is data minimization. Collecting only the information necessary for research reduces exposure to privacy risks. Avoiding the storage of IP addresses or unnecessary identifiers further lowers the possibility of re identification.
The ethical guidelines for research on emerging technologies can be applied to nursing informatics research involving artificial intelligence, machine learning, or virtual reality to ensure the patient's safety and well-being in several ways. First, the principle of respect for autonomy means that the patients must be fully informed about how these technologies will be used in their care, allowing them to make voluntary decisions about participations. Beneficence requires that such research maximize benefits, such as improving clinical decision making or enhancing therapy, while also minimizing potential risks. Closely related to non-maleficence emphasizes the duty to do no harm, which in this context means preventing harmful misdiagnosis from AI, avoiding side effects from virtual reality, and ensuring data security in ML systems. The principle of justice ensures that all patients groups receive fair treatment and that research outcomes do not discriminate against specific populations. Privacy and confidentiality protect the patient's personal and health information, requiring researchers to anonymize data and comply with legal and standards Similarly, transparency and accountability demand that researchers clearly explain how algorithms and systems work, report results honestly, and take responsibility for any harm caused by technology. Additionally, safety and risk management call for thorough testing of AI, ML, and VR tools before and during use to guarantee patients' protections, while professional integrity reminds resources to act with honesty, fairness, and prioritizations of patients' welfare over personal or commercial gain.
Hello everyone, good day. My name is Danah Calimpon, and we'll be talking about question number 4 that is all about the ethical guidelines for research using human data and samples from biobanks, registries, and database. So the question goes, in what ways do the ethical guidelines for research using human data and samples from biobanks, registries, and databases affect how nursing informatics manage, analyze, and share large database for research purposes. So, in my terms, or the answer for this is it is divided into 4 parts. But before discussing about it, let us first give a small or a simple intro about the question now. So, as a nursing informaticist, when we handle a large database, it is not just about analyzing number. It's about protecting the people behind those numbers. So now we'll be talking about the first quarter of the question answer. So first is the consent and transparency. So here, wherein researchers must always secure a proper consent from participants, especially if their data will be used for future or secondary research purposes. So participants must be fully informed on how their information will be collected, stored, and potentially shared. So in here, no, that we nursing informatics, or we people, or we human, we always need to make sure the proper consent is obtained, especially if the data will be reused for another study. Second is that all patient information must be anonymized or de-identified so that no individual can be traced. So this is very important or crucial in maintaining confidentiality in your patient. So next is you have the confidentiality and data security and responsible data sharing. So this is it will be as a whole now because it's all about data sharing. So when we say the confidentiality and data security, this patient information should be always be anonymized or de-identified to protect the individual identities, like what I've said earlier sa previous slides. Next is nursing informaticists are responsible for applying strict data protection measures such as encryption, password-protected systems, and secure storage. Next is responsible data sharing. So, access to large data assets should be given only to authorized researchers. When databases are shared, the specific purpose of use must be clearly disclosed and safeguards should be in place to prevent misuse or unauthorized secondary research. So, when it comes to data security, we apply strict measures like encryption, password protection, and secure storage to prevent unauthorized access. If we ever share data sets, we must disclose the exact purpose of the research and make sure only authorized personnel can use them, because because if you did not have the data security, like other people can go into it easily, like the hackers. That's why it really needs data security to provide a data privacy to our patient. Lastly is the legal and ethical compliance. So all researchers' practices must follow the provisions of the Data Privacy Act of 2012 and the Philippine National Ethical Guidelines. This ensures that the research is conducted with integrity, accountability, and respect for human participants. So we must always comply the laws like the Data Privacy Act of 2012, which reinforces accountability and respect for the participants. So in short, so these guidelines remind us that while big data can help us discover life-saving insights, we must always balance it with ethical responsibility, patient trust, and professional integrity.
Good day, everyone. I am Hester Canete, and for our last question, based on the guidelines' emphasis on the protection of vulnerable participants, what specific responsibilities do nursing informatics professionals have in designing and implementing technology-based research that safeguards the right and welfare of at-risk populations? Nursing informatics professionals plays an important role in ensuring that technology-based research remains ethical and protective of vulnerable populations such as children, the elderly, and persons with disabilities. The 2022 Philippine National Ethical Guidelines for Research involving human participants emphasize the need to safeguard their rights, dignity, and welfare at every stage of research. Building on these guidelines, one of the first and most important responsibilities is informed consent and assent. Consent must be provided in clear and simple language using alternative formats for those with cognitive or sensory limitations. For minors and individuals without full legal capacity, Assent should be obtained when possible alongside guardian consent. Participation must be voluntary and free from coercion. Number 2 is we have risk minimization and safety. Nursing informatics professional must identify and reduce risk associated with digital tools, such as data breaches, misuse of information, or difficulties with access. Protective measures include encryption, secure platforms, and user-friendly technology that avoids unnecessary burden on participants. Number 3, we have privacy, confidentiality, and data protection. Protecting personal information is essential. Professionals must limit the collection of unnecessary data, anonymize sensitive information, and comply with laws such as the Data Privacy Act. Digital systems should guarantee confidentiality through secure storage and restricted access. Number 4, we have equity and accessibility. Research tools should be inclusive and adaptable to the needs of persons with disabilities and those with limited digital literacy. Providing support, training, or alternative participation options ensures that vulnerable groups are not excluded or disadvantaged. Number 5, we have ongoing respect, dignity, and right to withdraw. Participants must be treated with dignity and respect throughout the research process. They should be free to withdraw at any point without consequences, and their involvement must never lead to stigma or harm. Number 6, we have ethics review and oversight. All protocols must be submitted to accredited research ethics committees for review. These committees ensure that research designs include adequate safeguards for vulnerable participants and that risks are properly managed. And lastly, we have transparency, dissemination, and benefit sharing. Nursing informatics professionals should report findings honestly and make results accessible to participants and their communities. Research must also provide benefits or insights that contribute to the welfare of the groups involved, preventing further marginalization. So, in summary, by upholding principles of informed consent, safety, privacy, accessibility, respect, ethics review, and transparency, nursing informatics professionals ensure that technology-based research remains inclusive and ethical. These responsibilities safeguard the rights and dignity of vulnerable participants, aligning research practices with national ethics standards. That is all. Thank you.
Now that we finished discussing the main points of our topic, let's take a step further and think more critically. To better understand and apply what we've learned, I have prepared some critical questions. These questions will help us reflect, analyze, and connect the concepts to real-life situations. Let's begin with the first question. What is the potential harm if a participant's decision to withdraw from a study is not clearly communicated? Answer. Participants may feel obligated to stay, leading to compromised voluntariness. Clear withdrawals rights help maintain autonomy and trust. Question number 2. In telehealth-based research study, how could differences in internet quality lead to biased results? And the answer? Participants with poor connectivity may drop out or have lower data fidelity, skewing results towards those with better resources. For the third and final question, should patients always have the right to withdraw their data from ongoing digital health studies even if it could weaken the research results? Why or why not? So the answer is yes, because autonomy and respect for participants outweigh the research convenience. Allowing withdrawals protects trust and dignity. However, researchers must design studies with clear withdrawal policies, anonymization, and data safeguards so that participants' rights are upheld without fatally undermining the study's integrity.